Good.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. Afternoon, evening.
Good morning.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Owen. Happy birthday. It's your
Thank
birthday.
you very much.
Oh, and it's your birthday?
It's
is,
his
yeah.
birthday.
And I can
would've
feel of
prepared
a
rap for
better
you.
group of people to hang out with than you guys, I
Woohoo!
guess.
So
Lockdown has a lot to answer for.
Oh my goodness. So how old are you turning? Can we ask that? Or
Sure, 32.
just a babe?
Just a baby.
Just a baby. What am I saying? I'm younger than you.
I know.
Okay, let's see. Let me get.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. So I forgot to add this to the agenda, but we have to sing happy birthday to Owen because it's his birthday. Okay, here are the materials. And let me share my screen. Okay. Great. Give folks a few more minutes. And can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll give folks a few more minutes. How's everybody doing?
Good. Okay, so no, it's good.
Okay. Owen, did you do anything today? For your
No,
birthday?
sadly, I'm working today, and
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So I'm going to look to take some time off near the end of the month and have a bonfire on the beach around the corner from my flat, probably back of July. So it should be fun.
that's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love a good bonfire.
Yeah. There's about 3 people I know locally who all have our birthday within about a week of each other. So we just generally get together, get a bonfire going, and celebrate it all at once.
By burning things.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like an apt thing to do.
Fair enough.
Okay, let's see. Okay, all right, let's get started. I know that we will have Dan and Tara joining. And then I've also included, just as FYI, these slides talking about the CDF. If you guys ever have a presentation that you need to talk about the CDF, please pull these slides. So I'll always include them in our monthly meeting presentation. And then also, if you need some inspiration on how to pitch the CDF, this is a great video that Tracy Miranda put together for us. So Tracy, do you want to start off with the landscape since Tara hasn't joined yet, and then maybe,
Sure.
maybe we.
Yeah, I'll give an overview, and then hopefully Tara can jump in later.
Okay.
Okay, so next slide. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a session with the ambassadors on the continuous delivery landscape. And I think the first thing that was highlighted was that, not those many folks were aware that CDF maintains or has a version 0.1 of a CI/CD landscape, similar to how CNCF has a cloud native one. But yeah, so the first thing is just for folks to be aware that this exists and that it is open and you can submit issues and PR. So we had a really good discussion with the folks who showed up. And if you go to the next slide, please.
Tara's here. Hi, Tara.
Hey, Tara. So Okay, I'll keep going and then I'll let Tara jump in. But yeah, I think the overall vision is, this should be an industry resource that gives people, that high level 20,000 feet view of the vast CI/CD landscape and attempts to categorize different forms of tooling. It's not going to be perfect because, it's always hard to put specific things in a specific box. But at a very high level, it gives people an understanding of what's out there, which tools can be considered equivalent or do similar things, and how they all contribute to the software delivery lifecycle. And one of the key things in the discussion was, I think we had it in the guidelines that it was only for open source projects, but this isn't how we're moving forward. We do want it to be similar to CNCF, where it's open to kind of well-used open source and also some non-open source projects. So I think one of the big overarching call to action is that please submit issues and pull requests to add any tools that you see that you're aware of that are missing from the landscape. And I'm sure Tara can talk more about that process.
Yeah,
And there we go. Hand over to Tara, and maybe you can go into details of each of those.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I was having technical difficulties. My daughter stole my microphone for her piano class, so I had to run around to find it. Well, not stole. She's allowed to use it, but still, I was like, wait, where did it go? So the landscape, we haven't made as much progress as I had hoped. Marky's been great. We got him access in there, and he's been rummaging around. The main focus is, trying to work on documentation. I've got a PR that I haven't submitted yet for first round of revisions on the main page. Again, trying to change the submission criteria. And then Marky's got some good ideas around improving some of the automation around how that stuff gets incorporated. I think the biggest challenge we've had up to this point is there hasn't been enough active curation around this stuff. So need to revise the guidelines and get a handle on making sure that we're keeping a better eye on the landscape in general. And then, as Tracy was pointing out, trying to be really thoughtful about how we describe these things. And then the other thing that I think is a sort of a orthogonal discussion, but an important one, is eventually how do we tie into the work that the interoperability SIG is doing. So as you create your continuous delivery pipelines, we want there to be, the maximum amount of guidance on knowing which things are known to work well together with other things, because that's a pretty important part of this overall discussion. So
is there a Slack channel, Tara, that we, rather than asking people to participate, maybe we can just open a Slack channel and then, or
there is one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a landscape channel. Okay. It's pretty quiet, but it's there, and I do check it. So go ahead and throw your thoughts in there, and we can just kind of do this asynchronously. Oh, yeah, Marky posted it. Thanks. I think that's all I've got, unless anybody else has any other questions.
Yeah, I think for me, just to clarify, what would be next steps for the ambassadors? What do you need them to do next to help move this forward?
So I think we've got the PRs that are going to start coming in around the documentation, getting those a good review, making sure that we're communicating the correct message. And then, any feedback that you have will be extremely useful. And then as you're talking to folks in the larger community, making sure that they're aware of it, and you may even soliciting some folks to join the landscape to make sure that we build out that larger picture.
Okay, and I'll add to that. Just add all the tools to there, and just let us know what it would take for this to be something you would show to folks and get value from it.
Yeah, there was actually in the breakout session that we had, there were some pretty interesting conversations that once we kind of get through this initial cleanup, I'd like to go back and revisit around how the landscape is laid out, how it's put together. I think there will be some good discussions there.
And
I would like to also add, if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, and you just want someone to help you real quick, please feel free to reach out. But definitely put it in the landscape channel. But if you need, I can help with anything.
Okay. Anybody have questions for Tracy and Tara? For T squared? No? Okay. We'll move on. Great. Thank you so much, Tara.
Give up your day job there, Jackie.
I'm like T-Dog, Tizzle. Okay. Great. So the next thing is we're moving on to CDCon and events. So really quickly, we have July 16th, another virtual event through the DevOps Institute, Skill Up Days, Continuous Delivery Ecosystem. And I think Tara is speaking at this, Marky is speaking, and then also Tracy Reagan is speaking at this event. We just need, again, an hour of your time to help man the CDF booth. The links here, I'm giving folks till Friday to sign up. And then also, again, if you have any marketing material that you would like for us to share and display on the booth for download, send it over to me. What I've done is if you've provided material to me, I've been rolling it over from event to event. So I think like Tiffany, you've provided stuff, Marky, you've provided stuff for past events. I'm just posting it, reposting it again. And then the other one too is we are, CDF is sponsoring DevOps World. We're going to have a track and we're also going to have a booth. So we are making this, there's 29 30-minute slots, which we can combine, you know, basically 2-hour sessions, or if you want a 30-minute session. There's 29 of them available, 30 minutes over 3 days. So if you want to speak, there's the sign-up sheet. The deadline's August 10th. So I'm giving folks some time. What we ended up doing since CD Summit Europe was canceled, we've asked those folks first, hey, do you want to still submit your talk that do you want to recycle your talk from CD Summit Europe, and you can do it at DevOps World. So those folks have been given some time already, only a few signed up. So we have the track is held over 3 days. So there's plenty of opportunity. So there's 3 tabs in there for day 1, 2, and 3. So please go in and sign up. We're also going to be making these speaking slots available to our members. So like I mentioned, first come, first serve, but we have plenty of space. And then again, we're asking for folks to help volunteer and staff the CD booth. So there's the sign up sheet for that as well. Now for CDCon, we are still working through some like logistics stuff. We're still trying to figure out the prospectus, and we're still also trying to figure out how much it's going to cost to sign up. But CFP is open, and I know it's coming to a close soon. So if you haven't submitted your talk, please submit your talk. Registration isn't open yet, but we're working on that. So I hope that by this week, early next week, we'll have an update on registration cost, and also, yeah, pretty much that. And then still on the roadmap, CDCon 2021. That's happening next year. If COVID-19 permits, we'll have an in-person event. Otherwise, we'll probably go virtual again. Does anyone have any questions about events? No? Okay. So this is kind of like a high-level view of the roadmap. So coming up, Skill Up Day, then DevOps World, CDCon in October, Spinnaker Summit in October, end of October, and then KubeCon, Cloud Native Con in November. That's going to be a virtual event, and we're only sponsoring a booth. And like I mentioned, CD Summit, Europe, and North America, we've decided to just cancel for this year. Okay, so project graduations. Do we have, I don't know if Dan joined, but I know that we have Tracy and Marky who can speak to these.
Yeah, I'm happy to just give an overview and start from there. Okay, so CDF hosts a number of projects, as folks may be aware. And the projects have a specific CDF life cycle. So they kind of go through these different stages. And this is overseen by the Technical Oversight Committee. So folks like Tara Hernandez. So when we talk about projects which graduate, what this means is that they must meet specific criteria. And the criteria is designed that these graduated projects should inspire confidence with users and the wider industry that the project is well governed, it's healthy, it follows open source best practices. And so like CDF is not just about open source projects, but really good open governance. And if you look through the criteria, it's all sorts of things like, you know, making sure the project has a code of conduct and a way for people to submit issues. It's saying we've got more than just one company contributing to this project. We have folks adopting the project. We also use the core infrastructure initiative set kind of checklist to say that you follow open source best practices around security, triaging issues, and all sorts of things. So it's a pretty comprehensive list. And I think it's a good way for projects, even if you're a project like Jenkins, which has been around for 15 years, it's more about sort of saying, okay, can you go through this process, and let's model that as a good thing, not just for CDF, but the industry in general. So the main thing is that all projects will be going through this process, and Jenkins is going to be the first to test it out. And then I think Spinnaker and Tecton are also queuing up to kind of get that graduated status. So next slide. So I'll talk a bit more about Jenkins project graduation, and then Mark, you might have something to add on Spinnaker. But Jenkins will be the first project working towards the graduation criteria. I think around the end of July, what this means is Jenkins project leaders, so members of the governing board, will present how the project meets the various requirements in the criteria. Then the 6 or 7 members of the Technical Oversight Committee will vote to say whether they approve it. And if they get a 2/3 majority, then the project will be considered graduated. Now, in anticipation that that is going to go smoothly, because there's already lots of ongoing conversations, the CDF outreach will celebrate the project graduation. So we're looking to have like a special edition newsletter on Jenkins, some specific webinars, and also a press release, which will talk about Jenkins being graduated and also the new public open roadmap that's being put forward by that community. So one thing we're looking for is any folks who are Jenkins users or contributors and who might like to participate, either a quote for the press release or writing an article for the newsletter or running a Jenkins specific webinar, please reach out to myself or any of the Jenkins community leaders. And we're going to get some working group meetings set up to pull together all aspects of the graduation, from just the criteria to the outreach to, you know, having special Jenkins in a graduation cap stickers, and, you know, just kind of make it fun and have this nice excuse to celebrate not just the projects, but just the whole process in CDF. Marky, did you want to add anything on Spinnaker?
The Spinnaker graduation process is underway. We have started going through the checklist of items to see what needs looking at, what sort of we need to set up for milestones. We are aiming for an October graduation, and so far things look good, but that's what I am working on currently.
Great. Any questions or comments from anyone?
I will ask the individuals on the call if everybody is aware sort of what graduation means for a project. And a lot of people may understand, what does this mean? It means project maturity. It means that when people go to make decisions, they're going to make decisions based on the maturity of a given open source project. And that if you can think of some previous graduations in other communities such as Kubernetes, it leads to a very big usage of a given project.
Okay, any questions? Okay, so yeah, let us know, because we are trying to put together content for the podcast, newsletter, webinar, and yeah, so we'll need some volunteers. Great. Just also some updates on knowing your benefits. I'm also this is probably gonna be a static part of our material. So we do have a new program that launched. It's called Twitch. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with this, but it's actually ran by Adam Roberts from IBM. He's one of our ambassadors. And I think also a few folks from IBM are collaborating. Unfortunately, he's doing his first dry run today at the same time, so Adam was not able to be here to talk about what they're planning to do with the Twitch TV. But mainly people use this to stream while they're playing video games. So he wants to put together a code and talk session on a weekly basis, focused around the incubating projects. And then, so I guess they'll alternate between developers, live coding, and then also consumers, and getting also that end user perspective. So this was, like I said, Adam, Dawan, and JJ for IBM are currently running this. I think I put some folks on the line in touch with Adam. I don't know where that went, but yeah, if you guys have ideas or want to collaborate, please get in touch with Adam, as he's the running point for this as well. And just some brief updates on how the program is, how some of the programs are doing. So the podcast, where we just published 9 episodes. We've hit over 1,600 downloads. And then in the last 30 days, we had 800 downloads. So I'm pretty excited about this. We have about an average of 272 listeners. So that means that when we publish a podcast episode, you should expect an average of 272 listeners in the first 90 days. I'm also looking for new content. So if you have ideas on podcast episodes, please submit a form. Like August is wide open right now. And this is just a breakdown of each of the episodes, how they did how they've performed in the past 7 days, 30 days, and 90 days, and then the overall download and play time. Upcoming episodes, we will have a Spinnaker community and project graduation podcast episode, and then we will also have another episode by Alex, leveraging continuous delivery to improve developer experience. And again, how to submit your podcast idea. These are all the links. And then webinars, we've hosted 4 so far. I still need to do more work on this program in regards to helping drive registrations and just promote it overall. I think depending on the speaker, I've noticed that we have, Tracy is pretty well known. Tracy Reagan is pretty well known in the community. So she also has she also helps quite a bit with promotion. So that's what I've also noticed about webinars who drive registrations and also drive YouTube views is, the speaker really stepping in to help and promote their own webinar. So just FYI for folks in the future, if you're interested in doing more webinars, let's come up with a plan to drive more registration for you guys and gals. An upcoming webinars, Stephen is going to be teaching Intro to DevSecOps, which as of yesterday currently has 16 registrations. Every day I tweet it, so Stephen, if you're on the line, help. And then
we can do better than that. I'll do what I can today.
Yeah, I'm like, we can do better than this. Absolutely. And then the culture factor also, that this is going to be presented by Isaac Mosqueda from Armory. And then, yeah, so basically just more the same links on how to submit your content and that stuff. Blogs. In June, we've had quite a bit of blogs published. Mainly, they were all introducing the ambassadors, but this is also another opportunity for you guys to establish yourself as a thought leader in the community. So we're always welcoming new content in the blog. Just a quick update to that too. The blog was transitioned from Jesse and now is being ran by Roxanne. So just FYI, if you see somebody named Roxanne reaching out to you about your blog, this is why. Okay, and just same stuff. So the newsletter just went out on the 6th. I'm super impressed and I'm really, really happy. Roxanne's just doing an amazing job. And then just some performance on June's newsletter and just some overall stats on it. And this is our publishing schedule. So in July, the theme was security. August, since we're trying to graduate Jenkins, all of it's going to be featured around Jenkins. And we'll be doing the same thing for all of the graduating projects. We're still deciding September. October will likely be the Spinnaker if we are able to meet those deadlines and criteria. And then we'll continue to update November and December for next time.
And Jackie is just going to add, yeah, I wholeheartedly second the newsletter looks amazing. I know Stephen Tirana has a great article on DevSecOps, and there's some really, really strong security articles, so highly encourage folks to check it up.
I don't think we have the archive, but yeah, I'll add the archive. We're also posting the newsletters on the website. And then just a quick update on this. We have 47 right now confirmed ambassadors, and we have over 20 pending applications. So we have a working group that's going to be reviewing all of these. We're just still getting organized. And then I think a few things have popped up here that I just wanted to I wanted to bring up. So we're going to be putting caps on how many member folks can join as ambassadors, because what I've noticed is that I just want to be conscious of making sure that everybody has a seat at the table. And from my perspective, if we just let all of our members, if we allow our members to basically have a stronger presence in the ambassador group, I feel like we're taking that opportunity from other folks. There's opportunity for our members to participate in the outreach or the TOC and other special group working groups. So we decided that we're going to limit it to 3 folks from each company. And then also, if you have another leadership role, like in the outreach, you're the chair, or if you're the chair of a SIG, we are also going to ask you to make a decision on whether you want to continue as a chair of that group or you want to continue as being an ambassador. Because, like I said, we just want to make sure that we have more diversity in our ambassador group. And because you already have a seat at the table somewhere else. That's kind of my thinking about that. So we're still putting the guidelines together, but that was one of the big things that we were like, hey, we're having a lot of folks from our member companies apply as ambassadors, but they're also contributing in special interest groups, and they're also contributing to the talk, or they're also contributing to the outreach committee. So it just didn't make sense for us to also have them as an ambassador, because then you just don't have that much of a diverse conversation. You're just talking to the same people over and over again. So we're working on those guidelines. They're going to be rolled out, but we haven't accepted any new ambassadors because we just need to have these conversations with some of our members as well, just to let them know. So that's the biggest update there. And then social media, we are really doing great on Twitter. Our followers grew 4% and our impressions grew 38% from May to June. So I'm very, very happy. I think we're producing a lot of great content. I think also the ambassador group I've noticed has really stepped in and helped us broaden our reach. So thank you so much, because we're really trending in the right direction. And also with LinkedIn, last month I saw it was like almost 100%, 96% in new followership. So that was something really, really that excited me. And then this is also the podcast performance. And now I turn it over to you guys and gals if you want open discussion or have feedback.
I would just like to say, if nobody has seen Stephen Turina do a presentation, please, it is a must you see this man. Great human as well.
Thank you.
Oh man, the pressure's on.
Nice.
But yeah, I wanted to second what you were saying, Jackie, just in terms of, I think it's really amazing how the ambassadors are stepping up and getting involved with the newsletters, the webinars, the podcasts, even starting Twitch channels. So I think that's great. And I think our job here is to facilitate all the efforts you want to drive. So yeah, please keep letting us know how we can do that.
I would also like to add that if your organization or you as an individual are going to be doing any type of a speaking engagement in regards to, CD, please reach out to the CDF, because they can help you promote that as well. And there is a form that you can fill out. I don't have it readily available, but I will get it in the next 10 minutes. And you can just fill out some information and the CDF will help promote your event.
Great. That was it for me. I don't have anything else very exciting. I will pitch it out. Does anybody, I know I've been delinquent on doing a fun get to know the ambassador happy hour. Does anyone want to take that on and schedule it?
Will there be a bonfire?
There's going to be a bonfire, yes.
I
good.
can definitely tell you guys just to rub it in.
Can it be
fire pit in my backyard?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Can it be a fire pit in the backyard? Because I have one.
Yeah, we should theme it. Everyone just get a virtual background.
Or actually, you have to be in your backyard. I don't know. I'd like to see everybody's backyard.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, backyard bonfire.
A BBQ, a barbecue. Meet the ambassador barbecue. Okay.
Jackie, I had one thing I'd love to open it up to the
Absolutely.
ambassadors. You were having a discussion around CDCon and the whole pivot to virtual events. I was keen to just learn, like, what sort of things are people seeing at virtual events that go beyond just talks and kind of make them more engaging? So are there any events you've been to that have been well done? Did they do specific things that you thought, oh, that's really neat and takes advantage of the fact you're online? So yeah, I just wanted to tap into folks and just hear various experiences or suggestions for CDCon.
The best ones that I've seen on my end are when you so the trouble that most organizations have is they need archetypes. They need someone's GitHub repository where they can grab some templates that they could just get started. So I found the ones when Microsoft does some, they have Azure pipeline examples. I've seen Red Hat do OpenShift, YAML files. Sometimes people just don't know what good looks like, and giving them good examples, it might be a little bit of IP, but I mean, it's a starting point for these organizations to actually get something off the ground.
Sorry, can I understand that a bit better? So you're saying when you've gone to an event, if they have like some technical assets that say...
Yeah, exactly. Like if I meet with an organization, sometimes I find they don't actually understand what CI/CD will look like when it's in good shape. They just copy what they've done poorly before and move it to a new tool. They need a good working archetype. My problem there is sometimes you're sharing some high value assets, but I find you'll get adoption, you'll get them moving forward. They just need to get over the hump of what does good look like. Yes, technical asset.
Okay, what, and answering that question, what does good look like for CI/CD? No, that's great.
Could we have a roundtable on that one? Like what a good CI/CD should be, maybe among ourselves, or bring some operators who, you know, they can bring their requirements, for example, to the table.
I think that's excellent idea.
Yeah. So
And yeah,
typically, maybe system integrators who work for operators also know what the pain points are, and then to sort of map at that to what we are doing to make sure that we can handle disaster recovery, we can handle, you know, abstraction and so on.
Yeah, start with the archetype of what the pieces would be, and then go to application or tooling specific examples of that archetype. I kind of find we target products and we don't do a good job of targeting what the exemplar looks like. So if we start with the exemplar of CI/CD and then we give examples like Marky's putting with regards to like Jenkins specific, do they align with what that archetype looks like is key.
yeah,
And I'm always a big fan. Oh, sorry, Tracy, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Tara.
I was just going to say, I'm always a big fan of turning it around to the DORA capabilities, right? It's like we've got the 4 key metrics for standard for, you know, from inception to customer delivery, but then there's all the other capabilities around architectural decisions that you may make, you know, that there's a big difference in what your decisions you're going to make between like a monolithic Java app or a Go-based microservice cluster, right? But and in the cultural elements, leadership, like there's all those different things. And I think there's, I like your idea of like kind of starting with sort of the table stakes of that discussion, but then I think there's a lot of branches to that discussion, and figuring out even which directions to go is also kind of a, you know, what next, right? Okay, we expand on our commitment and investment in automation. That's a good thing. Have a good model for commits so that you can get to the point where you're able to at least consider continuous delivery, but, you know, now what, right? And so I think there's kind of a stepping element to it that would be really cool to try and provide some sort of guidance around, you know, how we articulate this so people can really start to get some of these concepts.
Yeah, interestingly enough, at the board level, this whole focus on best practices is something that we all feel like CDF is really well positioned to help have those conversations. So I think what I'm hearing is this is the start of that, and we should just push more on defining those archetypes, using like DORA as a foundation, but then going much deeper and providing all the, I guess, the different parts and topics.
I've had like customers where they go, how do I handle if I'm Git triggered, how do I handle prioritization of groups for deliveries to different apps? How do I handle sequential or parallel efforts? What does that look like within workflows in relation to the pipeline? Are pipelines triggering pipelines? I mean, I have some of those archetypes because our digital team builds them, and it's non-specific to products. So if there is something you want to reach out to, Tracy, if you have examples that you want, I've had to do it for some customers because they just don't understand how it would function. But they ask the questions, they understand, they have the business need, they just don't understand the technology being applicable to those whatever vendors they choose.
Something that we're doing in the interoperability SIG is coming up with common terminology for CI/CD, so people can, like, for example, we have a working group on eventing, and what are the archetypes of eventing in a given, you know, microservice or so. That would be something, Shalom, if you'd like to join that interoperability SIG, we are currently working on coming up with common terminology that as it pertains to our landscape.
And we combine what you just said and what Shalom said into some kind of frequently asked questions, and maybe list down all types of questions that comes to typical, you know, users or IT, and then maybe try to answer them.
Hi, this is Mark Hornby. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm also an ambassador for the DevOps Institute. I'm a consultant. I do a lot of enterprise level work with clients, mostly things like assessments and road mapping, DevOps and various things. But one thing I've often found very helpful to get folks on the same page is this idea of an assessment. When I say assessment, it's more than just, you know, a checklist, but it usually embodies, like, you know, Shomo said, it's you know, best practices that are being used to help people understand where they are relative to best practices. So I found that to be so, beneficial in terms of getting organizations aligned around terminology and, what's good, what's not, in a way that, they can contribute and participate. So I don't know if that's something the CDF is considering or might consider, but this idea of having some form of an assessment, whether you use the word assessment, I know that's controversial, but there's different ideas around how you could maybe standardize that, or at least come up with some kind of best practice assessment model.
I could share how we broke down the SDLC entirely into human toil measurements of each stage of build, deploy, test, validate sort of thing, and then you have all the structure. So I don't look at it as ROI. I look at it as how inefficient is your CD architecture, and then I will show you human toil metrics to show you how much you're wasting of people's time, energy, work-life balance, and then money based on how much you pay them, so that they understand if I change the CD architecture, I will save this amount of pain within my talent and this amount of money based on inefficiencies. I don't take it from here's what I think is an archetype you should be following, because every app is different. We can put the archetypes so they understand, so they could adopt, but I don't think you could apply a ROI architecture structure to evaluate someone outside of, are you inefficient with your current state?
Any other thoughts? And encourage anyone who hasn't spoken as well. Please let us know what you think.
Yeah, I'll echo you can't apply a common pattern to everybody, but I think there are practices that are applicable everywhere. Like I run into teams that aren't using source control, right? So there are some high level best practices that you could apply into an assessment roadmap. I'm also a consultant, and I get the question a lot, like, how do I get started doing this? And my answer is always prioritize pain and don't let perfect get in the way of better. There's too many organizations that will look at the landscape roadmap and spend the first 18 months doing analysis of alternatives on tools, right? I think it'd be worthwhile to explain that, until you get to super specific use cases, you're going to accomplish the basics with all of these tools. Like pick something and be better tomorrow than you were today, and then look back in a year and you'll be a lot better off, right? So I feel like a lot of times organizations get a little daunted when you pull up a best practices diagram in a maturity assessment and they realize that they probably have 3 years of work to do. So really helping them prioritize it based on, what are you spending the most time on that you don't want to be spending time on, and start there and automate that and then move on to try to make it seem a little more attainable than it can be when you're just reading blog posts.
I think another thing that is working is when you have this value stream mapping exercise within all the stakeholders, because you're able to understand all the bottlenecks, constraints, and you're able to set the business outcomes that you want to achieve. And of course, we're not just talking about the technology, but the key processes as well. So this will give you the idea on what automations you want to make in every software lifecycle, and try to see how you can influence this for DevOps KPIs. That is really important as well.
I agree with that. One of the things that I will say is keep in mind that when you're building any type of sort of architectural vision for a given company, enterprise, what have you, is they may not have the ability to set up a value stream. They may not have the ability to interject these kinds of things. I think what the first thing you want to do is just get it down to a granular terminology level, so everybody's speaking the same language.
Hey, hi, this is Naresh, also known as Rao. So, Zaki, if you remember, this is kind of a slightly different topic. This was from the past month. I proposed something called very similar to what we used to have for a jam spread, because now we are into, especially not to spread across all the people that they are hosting their own webinars. But at least like to reach to the more people, it would be nice to have these couple of slides or maybe 4 or 5 slides into the every webinar. Like most of the numbers that we have in this monthly spreadsheet, probably we can have those numbers onto the webinars template or whatever the presentation that we are providing it to the person who is presenting, so that we can like maybe at the starting and at the end, so that we can have a more reach and then explain more about the CDF.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. Jackie, have we made those slides available, or is it just a case people should just grab them out of this presentation and add them?
Sorry, I had to go to a
Sorry, I
bio
think
break.
like, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, Naresh. You're saying, talk about just promoting what CDF is trying to do, the 5 slides at the beginning of the presentation, adding those to any kind of Jenkins area meetup or any CDF meetup. Is that what you were saying?
Hey, Zaki, I was talking about a jam spread, and then you said like you're gonna follow up and then set up a meeting to have those kind of like a monthly or a quarterly updates to those 5 or 6 slides, maybe beginning or at the end of the each presentation. But I think we could start with our CDF webinars to reach out to the more people, and then we can also have another copy or similar copy to give it to the people presenting in other meetups like area meetups or a CDF meetups and all. So I just wanted to follow up on that and then see all the people's opinion on this call.
Yeah, I would say please go ahead and use those slides as is, and let me know if there's another form you need them in, or if there's something else we should do to make them more accessible. Just let us know.
I think these the slides that we have are probably it's very good for us to go through because there are so many. We may have to fine tune those such that it's just gonna be like 4 or 5 slides to have a brief content, and then more so that it's like, I don't know if it makes sense to have one of the CDF ambassadors to kick off that calls, those webinars especially. Yeah, there are two sides of it here. One thing is with the current webinars that we are publishing through a CDF, and then the second side is the Jenkins area meetups and a CDF meetups, the whoever the ones. I think that's been reduced a lot these days because of this COVID and the virtual meetups. So that's a reason probably what we could do is we can start with our CDF webinars, and then every webinar should have a PPT templates, but the first 5 or the last 5 should be kind of just explaining few things to the people watching those, so that they know more about our graduated projects and the number of people that we have, those kind of things. So
yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'll take a note, and let's see what we can do to follow up on that. And what do folks think about, should CDF be having almost a monthly open meeting, just open to anybody, and we sort of take some of our highlights and let people know what we're doing? Do you think that would be a good thing? That would be well received?
yes, actually, that's really a good idea.
I think the idea of doing this open space must be like we can have our monthly theme for this event, so that at least the community or the people externally that will join will know what they expect on certain open space discussion. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking out loud.
So is everybody saying like maybe have a monthly, like I think the CDF has a meetup page. So maybe there's a monthly meetup that gets broadcasted out, and it's just an overview of the CDF and the programs within the CDF. Is that what everybody's saying?
Yeah, kind of like, in my opinion, I would say probably we got to explain them the graduated projects, like the few things about CDF, and then all the projects, and then also a little bit into the different areas that we have, like a special interest groups, like especially the interoperability, what did they make, and then what progress that we are making to make this as, I mean, I mean, in my opinion, if they want to know the Jenkins, they just go to the Jenkins site and then they find out. And then Spinnaker, they go to the Spinnaker. But the CDF is kind of combining all these projects together to an umbrella. That's when we need to start with some basics like, hey, the goal of this community is so and so. These are the graduated projects. But in the may not be the monthly. Maybe we could have a quarterly, and then say, this past quarter, we made some progress in this interoperability SIG. Now you could be a Jenkins the user, and it's easy to switch and adapt to another tool that we have in our umbrella. And this is the progress that we are making. Please don't mind to share your feedback, your use case, and then so that we can just adapt it before we go so long into this kind of the common models or common things, like especially the interoperability and ML apps. I'm so excited to see machine learning being incorporated into all of these CI/CD tools, and then we are we are just sharing, not just tying with the one tool, but we are just using across all the tools.
I think what you're looking for is something like the SIG of SIGs meeting. That's where every area does a brief. If it's quarterly, they'll do an update of what they've worked on for that quarter. So for example, the Jenkins project would come to this and they have to present sort of what they've done in that quarter, or what is largely working from a project level. And every project does that.
Yeah, probably the SIG of SIG, and then plus the some kind of overview about the CDF, because we are into early phases. We need to let them know what is CDF, and then SIG of SIGs. Yeah, we need to just add a sauce of like all these other things happening around.
Naresh, I was going to say that this, your idea about getting, basically applying machine learning to CI/CD, I think is a great one, and a good roundtable to have. So we could identify the use cases and, maybe, various methodologies where, AI, ML can accelerate maybe adoption of automation.
Yep.
In another community that I'm in, the Kubernetes community, what we generally do for something like this is the meeting will be an hour long. It will be, there'll be certain key projects that have to give an update on their project, followed by somebody will give a demo on something. So for example, we would say ML Ops would give a demo of standardization or what have you. But each meeting will have a different sort of demo, and each meeting will have a different portion of the project presenting something. And it'll always start with an overview of what is the CDF.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like a monthly, here's what's new and noteworthy in CDF, with the specific theme every week. So we can deep dive into one key kind of thing like interoperability, ML Ops, or even what we're talking about on kind of best practices and archetypes. I like it.
Okay, so we are 7 minutes till the top of the hour. Do we have a volunteer who wants to put a working group together for this discussion so that we can move it forward?
I can, since I've got knowledge, and if anybody wants to help me, totally can as well, but I can sort of take the lead.
And Marky, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need any help.
Thank you kindly, Rob.
Okay.
One.
Tom, are you interested too?
Yeah, I'll be happy to help out, especially to ML aspects of the discussion.
Okay, cool. So we got Tom, Rao, and Marky working on this. So I'll let you guys take it offline, and then we can maybe have a meeting and start working on this.
Yep.
Okay, anything else?
So I wanted to just kind of make sure that this is also going to include the slides, the deck of slides that we were talking about. Are we going to follow? I think Tracy took note of it. But is it going to be?
I'll take a note of that. That the slide deck needs to be created.
Okay.
And the slide deck will just be sort of an.
Yep. Yeah. Sounds good to me. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. anything else? Any other topics to discuss? We've got 5 minutes. So it'd have to be short and sweet. If not, I can give you guys 5 minutes back.
Thank you for all the help that you're doing.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. This is one of my favorite programs I get to work on. So, and happy birthday,
I'm sure we'll say that
Owen!
to everyone.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys.
So
That was mean. I don't say that to everyone. Oh, I'm leaving now.
It's going to be stuck in my head all day. Ellen! Ellen!
Catch you guys later.
Have a great week.
Happy birthday,
everyone.
Owen.
Bye.
Thank you very much.